One minute it's the Supremes, the Temptations, and the Impressions owning the airwaves. Next minute, the spotlight moves and the industry forgets your name. From the Marvelettes to Sly and the Family Stone, these groups hit R&B #1 in the 1960s, then paid the price of fame, lineup changes, and label politics. And there's one year with a missing chart that makes the story even wilder. Where did they go? Who survived? And who vanished overnight? 1961 is about the Marvelettes, and their fate is the not-so-pretty side of early Motown success.
So many days you pass me by.
They go from school talent show energy to national stars fast. And that speed is the problem. Within a few years, members start leaving as real-life hits. Health issues, exhaustion, and constant touring. Motown's attention also shifts to newer acts, so the Marvelettes are fighting for promotion inside the same label that launched them. By 1969, they have largely stopped performing together, and the group fades out in the early 1970s. After that comes the long, messy afterlife that a lot of 60s groups faced. Disputes over royalties and fights over who can even use the name on stage. What's wild is how human the ending is. Co-founder Katherine Anderson later left the industry, rebuilt her life away from the spotlight, and even formed a short-lived spin-off lineup in 2010. Proof the bond never fully disappeared. Most members have passed away. And as of 2025, Juanita Coward Motley, aged 82, is the only surviving original member. For 1962, it's the Contours. They reach the top, but Motown's pecking order is ruthless. They keep recording, yet they're treated like a supporting act next to the label's headline groups. Their contract ends in 1970, and the real snap comes when lead singer Dennis Edwards gets recruited to join the Temptations. Once he leaves, the original Contours era is basically done. But they don't vanish. Original member Joe Billingsley revives the group in the early 1970s, and the Contours becomes a touring legacy brand for decades after Motown, with shifting lineups. That also brings legal drama over who owns the name. The later years add punctuation marks. Inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame in 2016. The service mark assigned solely to Billingsley in 2010. And original member Sylvester Potts dies that same year. In 2022, Billingsley retires on stage. And in January 2025, longtime member Gary Greer dies. Proof this band's story stretched far beyond the 60s. By 1963, Impressions aren't just chasing hits, they're building a reputation, and that shapes their fate. With Curtis Mayfield writing and steering the sound, the group becomes tied to bigger themes: dignity, hope, and social change. That gives them lasting cultural power, but it also makes the band's identity heavily connected to Mayfield's presence. When Mayfield leaves in 1970 to go solo, the Impressions don't instantly die. Sam Gooden and Fred Cash keep the name alive with new members, new labels, and years of touring. Still, the public image shifts. To many fans, the Impressions become shorthand for the Mayfield era, even as the group keeps working. Their story eventually closes as an active unit, often dated to the early 1980s, but the influence travels. Their harmony style and songwriting approach helped inspire Jamaican groups like the Wailers for generations after that. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991, and in recent years, key members have passed away, including Sam Gooden in 2022 and Jerry Butler in 2025. And just when you think the next year is going to crown another unstoppable group, 1964 hits with a twist so weird it feels like the music industry deleted a whole chapter. Now, 1964 is the weird one, because there's no Billboard R&B #1 to crown it all. Billboard stopped publishing its R&B singles chart after late 1963, and it didn't come back until early 1965, so 1964 is like a missing page in the official record. But a group owned the year anyway. The Supremes. This is the year their rise turns into full-blown takeover. TV appearances, non-stop travel, and a public image so polished it feels unreal. But the cost shows up fast. The more the machine demands perfection, the less room there is for normal human stuff like rest, privacy, and equal spotlight. Their fate is the classic 60s trap. The brand grows bigger than the people inside it. Even at the peak, you can feel the imbalance forming. And once that happens, the next chapters become about control, rebranding, and who gets to steer the name. 1964 is the hinge point. The world sees a flawless trio, while behind the scenes, the pace starts rewriting friendships into job roles. Then, 1965 kicks the door back open, and the Temptations step into the decade's second act like they were built for it. The Billboard R&B chart returns in early 1960 after the long gap, and suddenly, the scoreboard is back, meaning every win, every loss, and every rivalry. Their fate, though, is bigger than any one #1 year. The Temptations become a survival story. A group that keeps evolving because it has to. Success brings bigger stages, but also sharper tensions about money, leadership, and who gets positioned as the face. Over time, members rotate in and out, and the sound shifts with the era, but the name stays alive because the audience refuses to let it die. That's what makes them different from so many 60s chart toppers. Instead of disappearing when the spotlight moves, they turn the band into an institution, one that can reinvent itself in new decades, with new voices, and still feel like the Temptations. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this time machine breakdown, support the channel with a like, a subscribe, and comment which chapter 60s group had the wildest fate. Slide into 1966 and you're watching the Supremes hit that dangerous point where the fame is so big, it stops feeling like fun. They're everywhere, they're unstoppable, and the brand is now bigger than the three people inside it. Their fate starts bending here. The spotlight narrows, the pressure spikes, and the group dynamic gets strained by business decisions that don't feel equal. One member is increasingly treated as the face, while the others are expected to hold the frame and keep smiling. By the end of this stretch, the cracks stop being rumors and start becoming reality. The lineup shifts soon after, and the group's identity changes in a way that you can't undo. The name survives, the hits keep coming, but it's no longer the same thing that blew up in the first place. 1966 is basically the moment you realize this isn't just a trio anymore. It's a machine, and the machine is picking who matters most. 1967, Martha and the Vandellas, and their fate is a classic case of being iconic while still getting boxed in. They've got the voice, the urgency, the stage presence, and records people still recognize instantly. But behind the scenes, they're dealing with the reality of being in a label ecosystem packed with superstars. Even when they win, they're competing for attention, promotion, and long-term planning. The group also gets hit with the era's normal chaos, schedule burnout, shifting priorities, and the quiet tension that builds when everyone's exhausted but the calendar won't slow down. This is the point where the name starts to shift toward Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. And that tells you everything. The industry wants a clear front person because it's easier to sell, easier to book, easier to control. They keep going into the early 70s, then the original run ends, and the legacy becomes the real career. Reunions, honors, and that permanent Motown legend status that never fully fades. And now we hit 1968, the year one group's fate gets flipped upside down by a real-life twist so intense, it sounds fake. Let's talk about 1968 because Archie Bell and the Drells are the definition of fame doesn't wait for you to be ready. Right as their breakout takes off nationally, Archie Bell gets drafted into the U.S. Army and ends up serving in Vietnam, while the record climbs to the top back home. That twist shapes the band's fate. Instead of enjoying the moment as a unit, their story becomes stop-start, distance, timing, and the pressure to keep a momentum they can't fully control. But they don't collapse. They keep recording and touring through the late 60s and 70s, stacking more hits and turning into a working traveling band rather than a one-season headline. By 1980, the group splits, but the name doesn't die. Archie keeps performing with new lineups for years after, keeping the Drells alive as a legacy act. A 2024 report said Archie Bell was hospitalized in a Houston nursing facility, but updates in early 2025 said he was still in the same facility and in good spirits. 1969, Sly and the Family Stone, and their fate is basically a rocket launch. Followed by turbulence that nobody could fully stop. They weren't just successful, they were a cultural event. A racially and gender-integrated band, genre-blending funk, soul, rock, and pop into something that felt like the future showing up early. But the same intensity that powered them also burned them. As the 70s hit, drug problems, missed gigs, and internal clashes start eating into trust and reliability. And by 1975, the original group is effectively dissolving. Even after that, the name keeps limping forward with rotating lineups until Sly's escalating issues push him toward retirement by the late 80s. Sly Stone died on June 9th, 2025 at age 82, and the tributes basically said the quiet part out loud. Music history looks different because he existed. If you love this rewind, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and dropping a comment with the 60s group you think got done the dirtiest. And don't click away yet. Your next watch is our deep dive playlist of unforgettable mid-60s soul classics that still hit like magic today.